I hereby judge Evil Dead Rise. Non-spoiler edition. Welcome back, everybody. This is Jeff from the Suns and Shadows podcast and 0 Point Reviews. Just have a little bit of a non-spoiler review for Evil Dead Rise that just debuted yesterday. You've heard from quite a few critics already from previous advanced screenings. I went to my theater. Initial thoughts are basically the movie theater had quite a few people in it. I was a little surprised when I bought my tickets, and before I left, I checked the seating arrangements just to see if there's going to be a lot of people sitting around me. I like to have, see what kind of room we're talking about. And it looked like only maybe 10 tickets were purchased, but once I was actually at the theater and sitting there, we had a pretty good crowd. There was way more people that just showed up because I went to a 7 o'clock showing, and our theater is very well laid out, and so I'm pretty pleased. It's a Harkins theater out here in Arizona. It's a nice little chain. Prices are good. Concessions are great. Love the popcorn. I did not get popcorn this time, largely because I wasn't sure how gory this one would be. And so if you're into Evil Dead, a lot of you like the gore, you like the comedy, you like the slapstick, you like the demons, you like the bloody good awesomeness of it all. Now, if you're looking for gore, this is definitely going to be up your lane. The only kind of comments I have about the gore are it feels a little at times like they're holding back a little bit. It might have been because of their budget. There's a lot of good here, though. A lot of the practical effects are outstanding. There is some CGI. It's not horrible, but definitely if they had a little bit more budget to work with, they probably could have upped the visual effects to an even better level if they needed to use CGI. But a lot of the gore, this is it for you. So you will be pleased with that aspect. As far as the sound design, like any other Evil Dead movie, if you've been into a theater, like even with the previous remake, the sound design is top notch. Everything was working out of different channels in the movie theater. It was great. Just hearing things from a different corner and working its way around the room and back and forth. This is a movie that knew what it was doing, and their sound editing and design is incredible. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie, is just everything going on around you. It's a visual feast. So you got the gore, you got your sound editing. Now, do you want to talk about story? Because I'll do non-spoilers here. Story-wise, I'm still trying to digest what I think of this and how it fits in the Evil Dead pantheon of movies. I do like the movie. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't have a good time. I'm not quite sure how I would rank this one. It is still a bit of a departure from, of course, the original three, and then it's a departure from the remake. The remake felt at times a bit more brutal, serious, realistic. This feels a little bit the same way, just in a different setting with maybe potentially a better set of characters. But now you're in a sky rise, like in a giant apartment building, and it feels a little different. It's like they took Evil Dead and squished it with like The Raid and Dread. Except more this time, you got just a few inhabitants of the building. The building's going to get demolished at some point, so everybody's moving out. If you've seen the trailer, you kind of get you get the idea, and it's a story between sisters and family and things going on. That's about as far as I go with story spoilers. That's not really a spoiler, though. It's just a little helpful tip that, there's something going on with this building, and there's a history with the building. And there are some Easter eggs for previous Evil Dead films. However, it's not really a true connection to the universe, other than there's a thing, especially, there's the Book of the Dead in this. There is something in regards to that. So do pay attention for the Book of the Dead. And I did not know this, but I did kind of pick up on it a little bit. There is a cameo in here, and you gotta listen for it, so to speak. So keep your ears out. And then there's a bunch of subtle references. There's a chainsaw in here. There's a shotgun in here. There's, you get your basic Evil Dead in this. And so you will get some kicks out of it. I am not like this hardcore if Bruce ain't in it, fuck this. I am not that kind of guy. As long as the movie is good, you at least got that out of me. Is it a good Evil Dead movie? That's where it can get a little hazy. Now, on its own, this movie is a lot of fun. You will have a good time at this movie. How you end up feeling about the story overall, how it ends, how they go about the pacing. Director Lee Cronin did a great job directing this. The only thing I'm going to say is I feel at times the movie's trying to be a bit restrained. I know they're tackling some darker themes and some, characters in this, but it oftentimes feels like they're holding back a little bit, and it feels like at times something's missing from just the movie in general. Like something feels off. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It kind of keeps you on your, I would say it keeps you on your toes because you don't really know what to expect next. Just what you've seen in previous Evil Dead movies, the relentless nature, the demons screwing with your mind, things like that. You do get that, but it feels at times like it's set up and paced out a little differently, so it kind of can put you on edge on, like, you're not really sure where it's going to go or how it's going to end, and anything like that. So as you're going through the movie, you're kind of wondering, well, when are people going to start dying this? Oh, is that person's going to die first? It does throw you for a loop. It does keep you guessing. So there is that going on with it. Just at times it feels like they're holding back, whether it's a death scene, little mind fuckery, a bit of the story twisting around. It does make you wonder, since this was designed for HBO Max, and I know I'm rambling, but I did have a good time with the movie. But it does feel at times like it's holding back. Like it, because it was destined for HBO Max initially, kind of makes you think, oh, they thought we were going low key. If they had the idea or even the forethought that, hey, potentially this might be in theaters, they might have made some different choices and gone more for the jugular. Because it feels like this movie was bursting to claw out of itself. Like, where this would end up fitting otherwise, I don't know. But, like, it just feels like as this is a good movie, it feels like it was trying to claw out and become something more. And it definitely gave you a different perspective for the world overall in Evil Dead. And if you are paying attention to any sort of like canon or ties, previously, it's been said in interviews that, the Mia movie with the remake and the original Bruce Campbell, they were eventually going to tie in eventually with multiple timelines and whatnot. You do get some vibes out of this movie of, if, say, like, Ray Santiago and Dana De Lorenzo had shown up at the end, or even a Bruce cameo. None of that happened. You're not going to get any ties to the show or the movies or anything like that. There's no Professor Novi. There's none of that. But how they did things, it does open up the world a little bit more. And so, overall assessment, this is a good, fun movie. Where this is ultimately going to rank for you as an Evil Dead movie is probably going to be up for discussion. This is probably going to be another divisive movie for people. I've seen people that didn't like the remake, but they loved this. I've seen people who did like the remake, and they don't like this because it wasn't real. A lot of people feel like this isn't an Evil Dead movie. This is an Evil Dead movie. Don't be wrong about that, but it's still lacking like the slapstick and the comedy. Like if you grew accustomed to that in the original trilogy of the movies and the show, you're not gonna get that in here. I mean, yes, there's some one-liners thrown about here and there, but if you're out for the gore, you're out for the bloody good time, and hell, just consider it a little bit of a popcorn flick, you will be very pleased. If you're looking for some high art Evil Dead movie, this has never been the franchise for you. So if you're looking for something like that, like, oh my god, mind-blowing complex plot, this ain't your movie. It's never been your movie. You are looking for something that this franchise has never been about. This has always been about gore. It's always been about putting your main characters through utter torture. And while it's missing the comedy, it does carry through with everything else. Ultimately, this is a fun movie. I hope y'all give it a chance yourself. And then, hey, maybe someday down the road we can discuss this in a more spoiler environment and we can go over some plot points and really break down the movie. But this is just a quick little thought video. And on an Evil Dead scale, I'm going to give this a pass. I'm not going to say like this is a bad movie. It's not a bad movie. You will have fun time. And so, Necronomicon style and Kandarian Dagger, we salute you.